Here we go. We created an event about fear and confronting fear, and then start off the event by sending out the wrong link to everyone.
Mm.
So here we go. Yeah, welcome everybody who's just joined. First of all, everyone, thank you for rolling with the punches here. It has been a long road to this weekend. Am I right, people? Um,
Yes.
Welcome, everyone, to Empathy Workout number 6. Let's go there. Many of you may not realize this, but while I show up to give you all an empathy workout, you two also give me an empathy workout. When we started the series, we committed to 4 workouts. This is because I am an introvert, and the idea of a standing weekend commitment like this on a Sunday, a day that I normally rest to talk about emotions, that brings me fear. But I've learned that the more that I do these empathy workouts, the less fear I have for them. As some of you who hung out here in those moments as we waited for everyone else to get the emails and end up in this room noticed, I'm a lot more comfortable sitting in the discomfort of the unexpected in these things. And further, the energy I get back while doing them from you all, it actually brings me inspiration and joy. So it's a funny thing. 6 weeks ago, I was pretty terrified. I didn't know how long I would be able to do these. I wanted to commit for 4 as we were leading into the election. 6 weeks later, that thing that brought me fear is actually bringing me joy. It's literally transformed from a fearful act to a joyful act. So when we scheduled empathy workout number 6, let's go there, we had no clue that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were going to win. I repeat, we had no idea Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were going to win. We just knew that no matter what, emotions were going to be on high. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have won. Where are your emotions? Go ahead, take yourself off mute and let yourself be heard.
Woo!
That's it.
Wow.
Yay!
Relief.
Oh man, I expected more than that. Okay, all right. We got some observers, we've got some active participants, but we're gonna that's just a start. We're gonna expect more. That's the level we're starting at. Next level goes higher. So when we planned the event, we kept it open so that we could create a forum for people to feel safe, feeling heard, really heard, no matter what they had to say. So before I hand it off to Kanene, I want to share 2 other mini workouts I've happened into in the last little while. So not too long ago, I felt a strong sense of fear at an airport from someone who was wearing a lot of Trump gear. It was so much gear that I felt offended. Why would he do this on a flight from New York to Atlanta this close to the election? The election? He must be trying to intimidate people, I think. You know, I hope he's not on my plane violating everyone's space. He was on my plane. He was on my plane. He sat actually not that far from me. He was like on the other side, just the row behind. So almost in the same row. When I was leaving the plane, I felt my chest kind of clench up because I realized we were going to be face to face in the aisle. He was a towering man. He's like maybe like 6'5". I thought here might be my chance to really lean into fear and have a conversation with him while I waited for my connecting flight. I got scared and I didn't try. You know, but I have empathy for myself in that moment because in my body, I had genuine fear, like genuine fight or flight stuff, imagining myself going toward him, that toward this man that my body perceived as dangerous. That situation runs through my mind. Today, I sent out an email blast entitled "The Tyranny is Over, but Our Work Continues." I figured on our list, most people would be excited about the win. You know, we actually try to be pretty careful not to make the game partisan in any way. The questions are not partisan, and we try to create a forum like that here as well. I received a message back. The message said, "Please take me off your mailing list. I am not in support of a Biden-Harris ticket while I am all for healing." Sorry guys, I lost my place here. While I'm all for healing of lives, I'm also a strong supporter of the US Constitution and feel completely violated that a ticket that will not honor that Constitution has seemingly, by whatever means they could, been put in office. So I felt an initial feeling of shock, but I decided that this time I had an opportunity to lean in and give connection a try. So I responded, "Thank you for sending your thoughts and apologies for offending you. Please do go ahead and click the unsubscribe button at the end of the email. We aren't often expressing political views, so if you choose to stay on, I doubt you'll regret it. Ultimately, we need people on both sides who are willing to engage in discussion. Be well." And to my surprise, she responded. She apologized for her tone. She went further to give me a little bit more context about the pain that she was feeling. She said that she was feeling bombarded on social media and that seeing my email in her safe email space, it made her feel attacked. And I thought it was funny how I had unknowingly done the very thing that I had felt was offensive. I'd come into her space, you know, but I'm glad that I have this opportunity where I lean forward with love and I was met with softening on the other side. I had the opportunity to go there, fail at going there, then go there again, and to later see the fruits of my bravery and trust. With that, I'm ready to turn the mic, the stage, the floor, the screen, the cube on your screen over to the wonderful Kanene Holder, creator of Black Issues Issues.
Yes. Thank you. So everybody in the front, everybody in the back, everybody who's with me, Let me see. Put your hands in the air. Okay. All right. Okay, give yourselves a big hug and tell yourself thank you. Thank you. I love you. I trust you. Let's go. Thank you. I love you. I trust you. Let's go. Go. Thank you. Everybody on mute.
Let's go.
Thank you. I love you. I trust you.
I trust you. Let's go.
I trust you.
Thank you. I love you.
I trust you.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Love you.
I trust you.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. I love you.
I love you. I trust you. Let's go.
Thank you. I love
paste because it's
you.
getting convoluted.
I
Thank
trust
you.
you.
I love you. I
Let's go.
trust you. Let's go. I
It should be a
trust you.
cacophony.
Let's go.
I love you.
All
I
right, in
trust
3,
you.
2, 1, take it down. Beautiful. All right, so yes, how was that, right? It was beautiful. It was chaotic at the same time. And that's what it means to be a human being in the third dimension. That's why we're here and we're not in heaven or whatever you believe is the afterlife, right? We have this infinite amount of power in a finite amount of time. How do we use those times? How do we maximize those moments? And how do we maximize our movements? That's what I think about each and every day. I wake up in the morning and I thank God. I say, if you believe in God or you believe in whatever it is you believe in, it's all good. My goal is to entertain, engage, inform, and inspire millions of people throughout the world. Done. That's what I have to show for the rent. That's my rent to pay to the universe for being here on Earth, on this planet. Thank you. I love you. I trust you. Let's go. Boom. I just made that up, by the way. The thank you. I love you. I trust you. But I was like, yo, because I'm open to whatever it is that's out there. Right. So thank you all so much. I was trying to, boom, there you go. There's a logo. So Black Issues started off, I don't know, in the womb, with my mother and my father playing Bob Marley and Peter Tosh interviews. So this is not a George Floyd thing. This is not a Breonna Taylor thing. This is not an Eric Garner thing. This is a my eyes are open thing. This is before the word woke was woke thing. This is a thing. And I don't want it to be a thing, but it is. And so a lot of times when we're talking about Black issues, it's a lot of pain, it's a lot of defense. You know, people are on, you know, they feel attacked. You know, fear, which is the notion that we are going to be talking about today, Michael and I. And so I thought about, well, okay, well, what alleviates fear, right? What gets people to join in instead of to pull back? Humor. So I decided to call Black Issues Humor to Heal the Racial Divide, Laugh While You Learn, right? About social inequity, right? And it's a satire for solutions to racial inequality. So then I was, you know, on Instagram, I'm constantly like looking, reading, looking, reading, researching, blah, blah. And I saw this dude and I was like, okay, who's he? And he's walking around and he has this little canvas tote bag talking about these cards, you know, for empathy. I was like, whoa, okay. And that, you know, when we think about all the different tools and techniques that we're going to need, sorry, I actually live on Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, AKA 125th Street in Harlem. So welcome.
A little bit of flavor for us. A little bit of flavor.
This is great when I do my Zooms, you know, because I also do diversity training. So if you need somebody, holla. But Jamie's like, yes. So, you know, I thought about this, like made me forget what I was going to say, but oh, Michael. So I looked at Michael and I was like, empathy. Empathy is a tool that we need. It's a tool and a technique that we need. And I was like, oh, he has cards to sit there and really like dive in, you know, because I'm like in your fucking face. I'm like, bam, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, boom, 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 bam, you know. And it's so interesting that Michael calls himself an introvert. Whatever. Like, I feel like everybody has a gift to share, right? And sometimes your gift is just waking up in the morning. Like, you don't know how you can transport someone from A to B, whether you realize it or not. So we're all introverts, we're all extroverts, we're in this sea of tranquility that calls being alive. So like we're always doing something, right? The earth is spinning and we're also like in concert with that, and we go like this. And so in that moment, I was on Instagram and the world went like this to Actually Curious. And so I hit him up, you know, and I'm like, let's go, let's do something. So, and then last week or the week before, we were doing empathy workout, and I guess we were debriefing. I don't even remember, but it was on the thing, and I was like, yeah, let's go there. You know, like whether Biden wins, Kamala Biden wins, or Trump wins, or whatever winning even means at this point, right? What does my win look like? What does a win look like for Black people? What does that look like? What about these issues? So not to brag, but I live on a balcony now because all the whites wanted to flee to the suburbs or Soho. So I have my balcony and I stood on it and watched the celebration and the jubilee that was the Biden-Harris announcement that they won. And I'm looking at everybody and I'm like, I get it, you know, and I don't want to be like a rain. Actually, we can leave it like that because that's actually cool. Just stop it, leave me alone. Bam. I was like, yeah, but what about, and I yelled it out to Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, 125th Street. It was, what about Black issues? And I was hoping that everybody else on their balcony, Black, white, and everything in between, and they were just like, it was like a tree that fell in the forest and no one was around. People did not want to adhere to anything that had anything to do other than, you know. And then I went down to Times Square, 42nd Street, and I was like, okay, so we're back to celebrating America. We're back to coveting the American flag. We're back to, you know, just loving a white man. And then it's just like, well, what about all of this racial reckoning and decentering whiteness and the Black Lives Matter movement? George Floyd, George Floyd. What happened to that? And like, I get it, and I don't want to rain on the parade, but this will bring me to, I can either do it on my, I could actually do it on my iPad or share the screen. How only the host can share the screen. Okay, so
Well,
Carol's like, what happened?
While you're pulling that up, and I think this might be a good segue to what you're about to share. So when we were connecting about this earlier, you know, I wanted to just really, you know, sit and receive what you had to share and contemplate that as we came to this group. But part of me wanted to push back to you and say, well, I'm tired. I want to celebrate. We've been, you know, in some ways, when I reflect back to 4 years ago, I decided to leave my corporate job because Trump got elected, to figure out how to use my powers, even though I thought they were, you know, they were commercial in nature, how to use those to make sure that this moment happened, right? And now
Mhm.
and I want to celebrate. So what's wrong with that?
Okay, I'll just do it on here. It's easier. Boom. This is what's wrong. Turn it around. Bam. Because I'm tired. It's 400 plus years compared to 4, or really more than 4, because we, in America, we like to act like, oh my God, this is an anomaly, versus this is the trajectory of American history well into the past and well into the future. So at some point, we need to have this actual reckoning. And again, I partied, okay? Like, I was my character, Rebecca for the Blacks, my satirical character. And like, I was exhausted. I was sweating, drip, because there's a lot of props. And, you know, I got featured in NPR. Boom. I'm exhausted too. Exhausted. I was like, you know what? Why am I doing this? Is anybody gonna get it? Like, I'm still gonna do that. I'm committed to you know, my goal is to entertain, engage, inform, and inspire. But like, I don't even know. But I'm just gonna go down. I'm gonna take the train. I don't even have a team. I usually have like a photographer with me, or like an intern to sit there and get business cards to all the photographers. Thousands of pictures of me were taken, and I was the one running people down. Here's my card. Please credit me. Please credit me. And posing for the camera, and like being in character, and people laughing and looking at me like, what the hell's going on? Boom. So at a certain point, like, and I'm not virtue singling, I push myself past whatever it is, because this is my perspective. And every time we don't, we're adding another 50 years to the timeline. To me, it's red. To me, over here is black to red, Trump notwithstanding. So to what degree can we make it so that this actually is green for Black people? And so I'll go really quickly as to how I do that. So it's in reverse, but you'll get it. Blagedy, right? To what degree is a tragedy something different because it's Black? Because it's Black, it's consumed in a different way, it's either ignored or it's like hyper, right? In terms of the algorithms on social media. So I never get to be a full human being in the full gamut of emotions. It's either we don't care about you, or oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, breaking news. Blagedy, Black tragedy. This is just a change for 400 plus years. Great. White right. The centering of whiteness, that no matter what, well, you know, you're given the benefit of the doubt, you know, you're able to be heard, even if you make a mistake. Okay. All right, let's move on. Move on. That one, blurgent. This is the biggest one. Our issues are not urgent, they're blurgent. It's another variation on urgency. Okay, we hear it. Oh, all right. So it took George Floyd and a pandemic for us to say, okay, maybe things need to change. It's ridiculous. Blackgate, this is another one. How our pain is consumed. No solution in sight, but magazines are gonna fly off the shelves. Social media, pop, algorithm, pop, trending. No solution in sight, but my pain, there you go. They know it. Put me on put Breonna Taylor on the cover of a magazine. It'll sell. All right. Black Spirit, that's whatever. We can talk about it later. It's our anniversary. It was the 1619. Blagenda, this is the biggest one. Great. We got them in office. So to what degree are we comfortable, protesting Trump and, blogging about Trump? And now that Biden Harris is in office, like to what degree are we going to give them the benefit of the doubt and not actually hold them accountable? I'm not about benefit of the doubt. I'm about holding them accountable. Blagenda. What is the Black agenda? I'm tired of these crumbs off the table of so-called justice. What can we do to center so that, again, that timeline is actually green for Black people in terms of our 400 plus years of issues? I'm not raining on the parade because it's like, oh, you're raining on the parade. But the trajectory of my life, America rains on my parade. I know, really, yeah. Like, so this is another one. Racism is not just emotional, it is economic. When we parse past the, oh my God, I'm not racist, and all the other things that people say and do to deflect the core discussions on race and moving the meter so that there is some form of equity here, it's economic. There's still money being made. And where is that money going and flowing? So again, once you get to that, then you start to talk about Black solutions. Because once the agenda is clear, it's clear that there's solutions for Black people in ways that we are stakeholders in the co-creation of those solutions. Because if not, someone else can make a solution for you it doesn't fit. It's like an alteration. Like, oh, I know what you'd like. I actually don't need that I don't like that gift for my birthday, but thanks anyway. You know what I'm saying? You want something that actually resonates with you, not something that someone else thinks is for you.
All right,
last one is Blockulator. How to calculate oppression for 400 plus years. Imagine if there was a calculator to calculate. Yeah, I know. Carol was laughing. I'm serious, right? Like, I'm very silly. But so I actually had a character because I did the show. I did Black Issues at the Public Theater, all over Columbia University. So I had a character who was kind of like Flavor Flav, but instead of a clock, he had a big calculator. And so every time we would discuss some racial issue, he would calculate like, oh, there's $10 trillion. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now with receipts. Yeah. So I've been developing this for over 2 years. Yeah. Yep, and that's it. Black Issues. So I'm done. And yes, I'm seriously silly. So love you all so much for humoring me and also hearing me and also laughing and crying with me. Woke washing is another one when institutions and individuals act like they care about social justice issues when really they don't. And that's it. And obviously this Black excellence, which is Kamala. Yay. All right, that's it.
Well, I think everyone can clearly see that is clearly not it. Thank you for giving us a snapshot of what it is that you have to bring here.
Yeah.
Kanene, thank you so much. I mean, every time I get into a room with Kanene, I walk away with more knowledge than I can even consume at one moment. So we decided to switch up the style of the empathy workouts a little bit to allow for us to slow down a little bit and dive into this with you. So for the next 10 minutes here, we're going to do a Q&A. Kanene, you dropped a lot of knowledge, so I want to open it up to the room here to dive into any questions. We knew that win or lose on either side, we wanted to come out of the election setting the stage high to continue allyship, continue these conversations, and not let up. I think we've done that. So if you have a question, you can use the hand emoji. You can use the hand raise tool, but just you can jump off mic or you can wave. I'm kind of looking at some of the windows right now. All right, Ruby, let's hear it.
I'm wondering how we can start implementing immediately some form of reparation, since obviously, they're having to give us an economic stimulus again. And like, how do we push it to be like, and we should start giving reparations along with that? Like, you have all of our, or for people who aren't in the system and would need either a check sent to them or some form to make sure that there is like monthly or quarterly, or like, how do we create legislation around that and make it happen sooner than later? Because obviously they have money to bail out the big banks, they have money to bail out the airline industry. What about bailing out the real people that built this country and built the wealth? Because capitalism is not real. You've always stolen things to make money. So how do we push that forward?
So is that a question to us, Michael and
An
I, or
open
is that,
question, because I
yeah, to
don't know a
everybody?
lot
Mhm.
about legislation or like, but I'm all on board for actively pushing for that to happen. It doesn't seem like it'd be actually that hard now that we've all received some kind of stimulus, like, or a majority, not a lot of, there's a lot of people who have not, but it's not impossible. So how do we push it?
I think it's a
Other than using social media, like, what senators do we hit up? Like, who do we start hitting up first to make it happen?
Kanene, do you have a point of view on this?
Yeah, I love the question. I think in terms of policy, I think it's a both and rather than an either or. So I think it's going to take within the two-party system, and then occupying social media on the streets, and then also in the education sector, right? So I think what I think about a lot is alignment. So, and I talk about this all the time about the narrative. Whiteness control, that's why I had white right. Whiteness controls the narrative. So you could be out in the streets protesting for reparations. 2 seconds later, your own child is looking at you like, what are you talking about? Because what they learn in school is like not any, you see what I'm saying? So like alignment. So I would say hit your local school board. How many times are you going to hear a conversation about reparations and then be like, hit your school board? You want to know why? Because I used to be a teacher. Oh, I would crank my students up. Come on now. My parents, the poor children would be like, no, mommy, you can't get plastic bags because Miss Holder said that plastic bags strangled the turtles. The best thing you can do is get these little children, get them in people's faces. Oh, politicians can't stand it. If we had a look at the poor children who did March for Our Lives, they too were woke washed. Use them, and then you don't hear about them anymore. But it's up to those children, those students, to continue to push beyond the narrow narrative that the media constructs. That's the beauty of why we're alive now with Wi-Fi. We can push it. So I would say school board, I would say, okay, and then there's Jamie with Black Hammer. He's also dope, doing amazing things, organizing around the country, and globally to a certain degree as well. I invited him on, so bloop bloop. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's traditional channels, and then we also need to think infinitely. We need to think very creatively, and always think from the notion of aligning with as many stakeholders as possible. Stakeholders don't necessarily look like a politician. It could look like it can look like anybody in your community. And so once you start to do that, you can say, okay, how can I form this coalition? How can we sit here and say, boom, this is our message, and it's going to flutter through our block association. It's going to flutter through our community board. It's going to flutter through the school board. And then before you know it, this one little group of stakeholders, listen to the word stakeholder. So once you do that and you're able to engage people, then boom. But I think we vacillate between, oh my God, Trump is horrible, and then, oh my God, yay, we have a Democrat. And we never actually get the 400 plus issues addressed, because we just fluctuate from urgent to thank goodness.
Okay. We've got 5 minutes
Carol
left.
has something to say.
First off, Kanene, I love you. I love your energy. I love your humor that comes from a point of like, so like, you know, like you're using humor as your strength, and you're also using your humor to put a spotlight on the issues that matter. And I also love the fact that you mentioned being involved in politics at the local level, because that's how you get ish done. I came to the States back in July 2016. It was a very interesting moment. I came from Guatemala, and from that before that, I had always seen U.S. politics from the outside in, you know, from news, whatever. And when I came here to the States, it was always like this this veil of the Trump presidency and what's going to happen. And yesterday, not that it wasn't a moment, it was a good moment, but what yesterday confirmed to me is something that I thought was happening, that people don't have historic memory. People think that that the timeline is linear, and it's not. It is a spiral. They think that the moment that you get someone in the in the biggest office that there is, that change is going to happen. And newsflash, just because you are changing the person does not shift or erase the systemic issues at hand, which have been in place for centuries. And as scary as it is, the US is such a big global power that whoever is leading the way is going to be listening to the communities and the voices that they want to hear or that they're prioritizing, and that trickles down all throughout the world. So I think that my question was, Kanene, you seem like you have a wealth of knowledge, and you know how to move forward. How in the world can we get it into people's minds that you can't celebrate that, oh, the four next years moving forward, things are going to happen? How do you get it into people's minds saying, okay, the fight has gotten a little bit easier, question mark, but we need to keep going? Like, how do you get that into people's minds to not let their guards down and to just be like, when you said that, okay, let's go there. Yeah, let's go there.
Let's go
This is
there.
just the starting point. How do we get that into people's minds to not just like, whoo, sigh of relief. Okay, now we can go back to our brunch or whatever. I don't know.
Here's what I think super fast. You celebrate with them and you pass them the baton. You tell them this is the first leg of the relay race. We already like our time, like for this first leg, really good. Oh, I love it. Yeah, we did it. We went out, we got the vote, we organized to vote. Everybody was doing, I mean, there were people twerking for the vote. There were people doing all kinds of things to get people to feel like voting was like the new anything, right? So, but that same momentum needs to be driven towards, again, blurgent. Where is it? Hold on. Blurgent issues. And people need to realize, yo, this is blurgent. This like, children are dying. There's over 800 children in New York City under de Blasio with lead paint poisoning. So these things don't necessarily make the news, and when they do, it's like, oh, okay, because it's not urgent, it's blurgent. So, you know, through the haze, and you can't really see because everyone's just so happy, we need to kind of like just a little bit, just a little bit, be like, bam, keep running. Because if not, you're chastising people who then feel like they're going to resent you. Shut up. They're going to resent you as it would. Well, you're just negative. You're just mean. You're pooping. You're pooping on our parade. And that, I think that's what it is. It's a both and. I'm looking for my poop emoji pillow. Because, I mean, again, people feel like, okay, fine. Pigs are no longer going to fly, right? Like, we're going to have some level of, I'm serious, we're going to have some level of sustainability and you know, stableness. But no, we need to, because if not, there's a whole nother generation of children that are already messed up because of COVID. Financially, mentally, all of that. Pass the baton.
Oh my I am gonna grab that baton right now and take it
Damn.
forward. That was an amazing segue, Kanene and Carol.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, here we go. Y'all ready to get involved? This is what, I mean, I know y'all came here for Kanene. That's why I came here. Can we get a round of applause?
Poop.
Yeah.
No more poop.
Yay! Clap, clap, clap,
Yeah,
clap.
I mean, we socially
Yes,
distance.
yes, yes.
I'm so silly. But yeah, let's pass the baton. Pass the baton.
Thank you, Kanene. All right.
Black girl magic.
Yes. Every girl magic.
Amazing. So Kanene just set the stage. You know, it's not time to let up. It's time to push on even harder than before. And we are here to help equip you with some reps on your empathy muscles here today. So today's empathy workout is called Let's Go There. Let's move forward. So back in empathy workout number 3, more healing spaces for the Black community, we introduced the concept of the 5 core emotions: joy, anger, sadness, shame, and fear. And the reason why these are important is the greater awareness you have of these emotions and the greater you strengthen your muscles at being able to slow down in a situation and assess which of these emotions you are feeling, is the greater control you have over your behavior and your actions. So, little gift. You can write that down. You can go back to actuallycurious.com/empathy workouts, and you can watch empathy workout number 3 for more on that. Next slide. So now we've been talking about fear this whole time, but now we're going to talk about fear in this context with this acronym: fear, false events that appear real. And what that means is our bodies, our minds, our subconscious, we are equipped with certain triggers that are meant to protect us. These are triggers that sometimes are learned through our own experience. These are sometimes triggers that are passed down through our family, through our society, in the form of biases. These all mix together to create these perceptions that we have of an event that might happen in the future that we don't want to have happen. So fear, false events that appear real. And these fears, they cause us to do, while they can sometimes protect us, they can cause us to do very terrible things. They can cause us to act out against individuals. They can cause us to perceive others as others and enemies, and they can cause us not to do things that might actually lead us to growth. So the point in challenging fear is when you learn to challenge fear, you see what's on the other side, and sometimes it's not so bad, and you are stronger because of it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go into this game. I encourage you to take the questions that you're going to hear. The way the game is going to work is we'll put the question on the screen. You'll have, because we don't normally get this in normal situations, you know, as people of color, when these situations attack, and we've now learned to just engage instinctively. We don't have time to sit and slow down and think about it before we speak. You all, the allies here who are not Black or not people of color, you often don't have time to slow down in a safe space, think about what you want to say and speak. Here, we really want to encourage everyone to take that 30 seconds to write down your thoughts, and be prepared to share what's real for you in a safe space. Give it a try. Flex that muscle. And then we're going to spend the remainder of about 4 minutes. So try and, use the journaling session to get your thoughts in a concise form so you can share, so you can leave space for other people. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to get your workout in? Ready to get some reps? Our first question is, what is something you pretend to know about and why? And take 30 seconds to give this question some thought. And while you think about the questions, give a try of thinking of the 5 core emotions and what this question brings up for you. If they bring up joy, they bring up sadness, anger, fear, shame. Scan your body, your neck, your chest, your back, your abs. Do you feel anything in your stomach? These are all signals to explore that connect to emotion. Was that 30 seconds? That was 30 seconds. All right. What is something you pretend to know about and why? I'll lead us off. I'm gonna say I completely pretend to know about this, and I do know a little bit, but I wish I knew more about politics. Wish I knew more about policy. I wish I knew more about local government, local policy, to the effect, the point that I could just be more informed. And the reason why I pretend to know about it is because I have a platform where I think people expect me to know more about it than I do. I feel shame sharing that. But by sharing that, I can be educated. So at this point, you can just pull yourself off mute and popcorn in. This is like a town hall style gameplay.
I think I pretend to know about spirituality. More recently during quarantine, I've been more trying to be in tune with myself as a spiritual person. I know some things about it, but I think I like to tell myself that I know more than I do, because it's really fearful to like dig deep within yourself and get to know all those parts of you that you really don't want to know too. So I think I'm fearful of that.
And Alexa, as you were exploring your, sharing that with this group, did you find any physical sensations come up for you as you were doing?
I feel like my heart was racing. Like that was something I didn't want to admit to myself for a while. You know what I mean? Like it was just scary, more frightening than anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyone wanna ping pong off of that?
I'll go.
Yeah, let's hear it, Carol.
So mine would be twofold, because something that Alexa said made me realize, oh yeah, I also pretend to know about this. So one would be strength/resilience. Whereas I think that I know about strength and resilience, whereas sometimes it's just like covering it up, or like with the whole perception of just suck it up. And that's not sustainable to be able to move forward. That would be one. I need to be able, and hence one of the reasons why I found Actually Curious and these workouts so amazing, to be able to build this muscle of like strength, resilience, empathy, for it to be something long term. And something else that I don't know as much of as I wish to is Guatemala's history, but specifically the point of view from the indigenous communities there. Especially now that I've been here in the States, sometimes I feel like when people decide to talk about Central America, because that doesn't happen very often, I make it a point to mention, well, this is the perspective of what happened when the Civil War happened. And then I realize when they ask me a follow-up question, I'm like, try to just cover it briefly. And then I realize, oh, shoot, I should know more about this. I feel horrible because I should know more about my country and about the communities that have been there and that were there long before my ancestors got there. So, and all of that makes me feel crummy, but it's also more of a, I know what needs to be done.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for landing on, I know what needs to be done, because when you confront the things that you're afraid of and you're willing to look them in the face, then that's almost the first step in being able to do something about it. And I could just say, Carol, as a Jamaican immigrant, first generation American, I too caught that bug of wanting to know more and wanting to try to claim as much of that oral history as I can before it leaves us in this generation. So thank you for sharing that. That touched me. All right, so we're moving on to question number 2. It's going to be same format, 30 seconds to journal on it. Before we reveal the question, I just want to invite you all to take that first exposure of the question and see if any of those 5 emotions come up for you. Joy, sadness, anger, shame, and fear. And maybe that might help as a jumping off point for your journaling. Y'all ready? Can I get some head nods? All right, second question. We're going up a level, level green. Describe a person you have difficulty connecting with. Why do you think that is? I'll give you 25 seconds more to jot down some notes. Ooh, all right, we're up in level green. If you haven't noticed, we're going to really be going there with these questions. I'd like to open up the floor to someone who's feeling that, who felt that in their body somewhere and ready to go in right now.
I am.
To go.
Hear it.
It's also maybe I feel a bit brave because you can't see me, but it's actually I wrote myself down.
All right,
And
so
I
we
think
got one other person up after you. All right, Anushka, let's hear it. Sorry.
yeah, I actually wrote myself down. I turned 40 this year during lockdown, and in all honesty, I feel like I'm only just unlearning the programming of whatever it is that has got me to where I am now. And when you're an entrepreneur and self-employed, and literally the state of the world right now and all of the opportunities that have gone and vanished overnight, it's really making me tackle things about myself that I didn't know I needed to tackle, because I'm not distracted by the everyday humdrum. And I'm sure many people might feel like that. And if you don't at some point, who knows? But I'm going to let the other person also have some time to share.
Well, I'm going to ping pong off of that just real quick and just say I felt like chills in my body because I related to that so heavy. I know a lot of people had that opportunity or, were forced to slow down. We fill our time with all this space. We were forced to slow down. And oh man, I felt that in my body when you were sharing that. So respect. So it says Zoom user over there. So I don't know your name.
Solomon.
Solomon, welcome, Solomon.
Thank you. I guess I would say just this. I guess I was dealing with like Green Party people, and we had like this little conference, and I didn't realize that I had such an issue with them until I actually sat down and like tried to have a talk with Howie and stuff like that, and I realized like even like like this idea of like being green and like caring about the community, I mean caring about the like the world and stuff, could be a like a trick basically, or you know, because it's like basically asking the people of the land like how should we distribute it, you know, the power, you know, of the land. So I think that was my biggest struggle was like unpacking like like the struggle of understanding, okay, why isn't this okay, why isn't colonizers that hug trees, um you know, why don't they have the answers, or why can't they give you the answers, and then when people like would ask me like, do I know any like any white person like for like good advice, and I was just like, I don't understand how people would go to that extent to ask a person that has not gone through their struggle at all for help with something that, you know, that they're struggling through. So I think that's just mine.
All right, one quick follow-up question for you, Solomon. One word, what emotions, when you think about this interaction, what emotion comes up?
Frustration.
Frustration. All right, we got a little bit more time. Anyone else want to share? Describe a person you have difficulty connecting with. Why do you think that is?
I can go. Thanks for letting me in late. I know the importance of building space, and I appreciate it. This one brings a lot of heart racing to me, sweaty palms, and a lot of sadness and grief. I have a hard time connecting with my brother. I always have from when we were born. We just have never really gotten along. And it's really shown up at this time when like I feel like a lot of people are spending, or maybe I'm wrong, but I think the pandemic is calling a lot of people in to like connect with their family members and to like be closer as a family. And we tried, and it just like didn't happen very well. And we both have kids now, and so we've tried to like take that angle of like let them be cousins, let them be together, and it's just it's hard for me to see a light at the end of the tunnel with me and my brother, which just makes me so sad. Like seeing Kamala and her family celebrate her on stage, and how her sister was up there. It's just I just don't know up from down with the situation with my brother in a way through.
Oh, wow. Erica, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks for listening.
There's the coming together aspect, and there's the flip side of that coin. The exposure of the issues at times, or the desire for that connection. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
So how much more time do we have on this question? No more time. There was no bell. I didn't hear the bell. I rely on the bell. All right, cool. All right, so you said who? Alexa? Alexa, we're going, okay, go ahead, Alexa. Let's hear it if it's quick, and then we'll go into the next question.
Piggyback off of what she said a little bit. So me and my mom are kind of the same. Like we just have never ever gotten along in my life, just because our kind of love languages are different, and so we have a really hard time showing each other that we love each other, and just getting along. And so especially during quarantine, we were just stuck in a house together, and it was just bickering all the time. And so I kind of, what helped me at least, because I was really angry at her for not being there in the way I wanted her to be for a while. What helped me was just realizing that I can't control her and I can't control who she is, but I can still accept her and love her for who she will always be. And the fact that she is family and she is there for me. And I don't know if that provides any help or any sense of comfort, but I know it helped me. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, maybe I'm trying to get my brother to love me in the way I want to be loved, and I just need to accept who he is. That does help. Thank you.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Alexa. I'm really glad we made space for that. All right, so we're about to move up
All the
to
love.
Level 3, all the love. I need one of those pillows, Kanene. Can I get some
Yeah.
of those pillows?
Yeah,
I'll
we'll talk. We'll talk. I have a supplier.
charge for
Um,
a poop emoji pillow too, please.
yeah, I think I left the brown poop in my bedroom, but I have the pink one for white women to step up to the plate and hold their white men accountable. So I think this is a fitting one. But yeah, and I have this one from about reparations. I have this one too. But continue with your questions.
Okay. All right. So I think that's actually a really great segue into our next question. So I really want, we're going to go up a level here. If you haven't shared ever on empathy workouts, or you haven't shared today, I really want to invite you. And here, I want people to really push themselves in the journaling session to be honest with themselves. Use this as an opportunity in safe space to check in with our biases or our narratives and bring them to the table here so everyone can hear them and experience them with you. So our third question is, have you ever experienced discrimination? And really reach, if you can't find one, I really want you to reach and actually see if you can. Have you ever experienced discrimination? How did you feel about it? We got about 20 seconds of journaling before we come back. Soren, thank you for sharing in the chat. Your mom. All right, so let's come into the group. Anyone feeling charged, and particularly that's sometimes that's the best time to just go in and share without filters. So Jordan, let's hear it. Welcome. Where are you
Hi
calling?
everyone. So I guess I'll share an experience from last summer. I went to this immersive language school, and so I was taken aback from my English language for 2 months, and I was completely in Portuguese at this time, and I was in a space with 60 students together learning the language, but only about like 4 Black students. Of shame and anger through the discrimination that we experienced from the school. People not letting the Black students sit together and converse together when we felt comfortable, and other students like didn't want to communicate with us through the Portuguese language. So it was a time where I was really excited and full of joy to learn this language. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And then when I got there, I was not welcome. I was not appreciated. I was not wanted to be there. I experienced discrimination from my program, from administrators, from teachers, from students, and from the community at large. Oddly enough, I was in Vermont. And at this language school, I don't know if anyone's heard of Middlebury. I don't really want to call them out, but like it was a terrible time for me. And so it's like looking at the ways that Black people are treated in so many different situations, like even in places where we're actually trying to, like I'm trying to expand, like students are trying to expand, trying to gain more knowledge. And this school really, really let me down. I wasn't even able to learn as effectively as I wanted to because I was dealing with literally not being able to fit in this space and not being accepted and not like being welcomed and not being pushed to learn because of how I look. So that discrimination was just, it was really painful during that time. And it actually made me want to leave. I ended up sticking through the program, but like to the point where I had to consider leaving, like it was just, yeah. Yeah, somebody in the chat said they want to name Vermont's racism. I really think it's interesting because like Ben and Jerry's and Bernie Sanders both come from Vermont. And we see these sweeping, like leaning socialist political ideals coming from Vermont. And then you actually experience Vermont as a Black person. And it's like, oh, I went to the grocery store and they didn't let me buy wine because my friend didn't have his ID and we weren't even in line together at the same time. So it's like things like that don't even make sense. Like I was just discriminated for really, really like dumb things. And obviously, regardless of what it is, like, I don't know. So it's just like I experienced, like going back to the 5 core emotions, it was just a lot of shame and anger for me that I experienced through the discrimination.
Yeah, Jordan, thank you for sharing that. I can definitely relate. It's only in the last 6 months or so that I've been able to reflect on the microaggression of having seemingly pursued the American dream, pursued education, achieved to a certain level, and then not be accepted uh, once I've reached there, and then have to push through that, which kudos for pushing through. But I won't. I want to. I have empathy for past Jordan who didn't even know that, maybe that you deserved more than that. So, anyone else? Let's hear it.
Yeah. Oh, so sorry. I just want to let her know. There's I had put it in the chat that there's a quote by Malcolm X about being wary of white liberals. And I think when we're in this world of microaggressions, that we just need to, you know, stake our claim. Like, this is who I am. This is what I deserve. Mm-hmm.
So we have 30 seconds left in this question. I invite someone else to jump in. Close us out. Thank you, Lorraine. Let's hear it. Welcome. Are you a first time?
Yes, I am a first time. Actually worked with Kanene on a show, Black Women's Blueprint show, long time ago. And so I'm glad I could be with you all. I feel like now I have to rush.
Take your space.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go to the feeling. So now my hands are, now I'm feeling kind of cold and feverish. And I feel a lot of my emotions in my stomach area. But I was just reflecting on a couple things. So the first thing I just thought of, because I work in libraries, and sometimes I feel like people will come and ask me questions because they just assume that I'm not the professional, although I'm the only one at the reference desk. But then the one that I thought of when we asked this question is that, so I'm in this space, and I work at an Ivy League school, so it's nice to be around other folks of color when I can. And then, but I've felt which I knew it was discrimination, but I didn't have the language for it because it wasn't happening to me directly. It was like people saying kind of shady things behind my back, because I'm a queer person, and sometimes I look, I guess, visually queer. And I'm also like a Black woman, and so I would hear like some really kind of shady things from the other persons of color, who would say things about maybe and these were people who are older than me, but things about my hair, like I should do my hair this way, or I think sometimes she's wearing her man's clothing, and these type of conversations, but they're not saying it directly to me. But I'm hearing this because I was a teacher once, so for like the 2 years. And so it's like I have that unique ability to hear things that I don't want to hear. And I would go back and forth is like, because I have to, these are folks who work in security at the place where I work. And so it's like, they have to, when I come in the morning, I have to ask them give me the keys. So it's like, if I confront them, I'm thinking about the relationship that can inspire after that. Is like, how can I say it in a way that it adds some humor when I'm triggered by it? Because my heart is racing. Like, how can I say it in a way that protects me, and so that, you know, there's no retaliation? And I find myself just thinking, like, even like now, it's like, you know, the next time I see them, I'm just gonna let them know that that's not okay and they should stop it, you know, in a humorous way, what have you. But I haven't been on campus, so I haven't had to interact with folks. But it's just that, I guess, if I wrap it up, I guess I get to the feeling of there's a bit of fear from having to do the confrontation, because I wish people would just know that, you know, this, and particularly at this university where it's all about, you know, social justice and that, this and that kind of language doesn't belong there on campus. And then it's just the feeling of some sadness that, yeah, I don't want to think, I was like, why? I want to have this feeling of camaraderie with these folks. Like, we're people of color, but you are completely okay with, even the folks who would just kind of laugh at the, you know, the comments when they hear it. It's like, you're completely okay with discriminating against another person of color. And it just, like, I don't know, it angers me too, I guess, is the other thing. It just boggles my mind. And yeah, I'm an introvert as well. And sometimes I find myself going, oh, I can't stand people, but that's not true. But it just puts me in that space. But thank you all for listening. I was triggered, so I feel like sometimes when I was speaking, it wasn't very clear, but thank you.
Yeah, Lorraine, this session is not about clarity. It's about truth. And you dropped the truth, and so many truths that that I relate to. The particular sting of thinking you should be in a safe space, expecting you should be in a safe space, and being rejected. Oh man, I can relate. I can so relate. And I just wanted to say that you modeled a lot of things here for the community really well. You checking in with your emotions ahead of time and sharing with everyone immediately, like, and we got to experience you talking through the fear and the sadness and the anger, all of it, the whole spectrum, and how your hands went cold at the beginning. And I didn't even know where you were going to go, but just thank you for sharing that and modeling that. And then also you came to your own conclusion in what and why we do this, which is you had the opportunity to visualize that situation here with the group and go through that situation in safety with us and visualize how you want to show up if and when, probably when, you know, sadly, we encounter it again. And that's why we do these empathy workouts, is so we have some reps in a safe space. So thank you so much. Thank you for modeling that. My queen, thank you. All right. So we're moving into the last question. Going up a level, last level. Same drill. 30 seconds to take down some notes. And I really want y'all to push through the fear in sharing this one. Describe one time you judged someone based on a perceived difference. What emotions come up even thinking about sharing that out loud? Because in the words of David Chappelle, welcome to being Black, or what it might feel like. So I'm trying to find, I'm being, so Nabulungi, first of all, please teach me how to pronounce your beautiful, unique name. And then let's hear what
Hi, it's Nabalonge.
Abalonge.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, you did a great job with it. As soon as I saw
That's one
this
of my best friends on the
question,
planet.
yes,
Family.
best friend since freshman year, Howard University.
They don't need to know the name. Okay, Black to you now. Just go.
So proud of my sister. But anyway, all right, I'll skip the gush. But I was the one screaming black girl magic at you. But anyway, all right. As soon as this question came, I was like, now you know you got telling yourself. So the emotion that rose up in me was kind of like that look a dog gets on his face when it's like, did somebody say, did you steal the dog treats? This is something that I call myself on all the time. It's something that I consciously work on when it comes to other people of color specifically. Because if I'm calling everybody else out all the time on their prejudice and their racism, then I need to make sure that I'm working on myself, that I'm not carrying around unconscious bias and conscious bias. And I have road rage. And specifically when I'm driving, I will be saying in my head primarily unkind things, and they'll start with the country I think that you're coming from sometimes. And so I'll ask myself, what does that have to do with that? And why does that have to come into the situation even? And I know where that comes from, and I know how that behavior is taught and so on and so forth. Another thing that I work on myself with is not being afraid of our own children. I spent many, many years working with children who are living in poverty situations and suffering from those outcomes. Notice I didn't say at risk. I can't stand that term. And not being afraid of our own children is really important, because what we teach them about themselves when our own mothers, when our own teachers, and our own men especially are afraid to be in the room with them, are afraid to chastise them, are afraid to believe in them, carries them for life. I mean, from my own childhood, I'm sure for a lot of us from our own childhoods, we can remember chapter and verse the times people didn't believe in us, right? And what we've had to do to overcome that. So for me, checking my unconscious and conscious biases is something that I work on. And Kanene said the woke people. Yeah, I'm very woke. Both of my parents were revolutionaries, but that does not mean that I don't have some of those unconscious and conscious biases. And people in Washington, D.C. cannot drive. And part of it is because this is a melting pot, but that's the beauty of this area also. So I remind myself when I want to be like, yes, it's not because they're from Latin America. It's because that's how they drive. And just take a deep breath and keep going. Remind them to put on their blinker in a different fashion. So that's me telling on myself and reminding myself to be better. Love you too, sis.
Thank you for modeling that. All right, we got to get at least one more on here. And bonus points for a white person. And it doesn't have to be about race, you know? But honestly, I'm not meaning to put anyone on the spot, but I would love one more share. We got 30 seconds.
I'll go for the points. I certainly a lot of shame when I think of times around race, but I also think about times around disability. seeing somebody with a disability and making assumptions that are so not true, and plenty of shame and embarrassment and all kinds of things around that. And there it is.
Hey, Linda, is that your real voice? Because you kind of look like you're in witness protection right now.
I think is this better? Maybe I should be in witness protection.
I was like, that's a bold way to go there. Oh man, thank you so much for going there. And
Is that, can you see me now though?
Yeah, we can
Because
see.
I don't actually want to hide with that as much as like I do want to hide with that, but I won't.
Thank you for giving me a moment for some levity to close out this round. Cool, we went there. Oh man, how y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Check in with your body a little bit. I mean, I'm starting to feel a little bit cold because my temperature went up and now it's leveled off, and now like that perspiration. So just shake it out. You guys did it. Empathy workout number 6. You got some reps in. All right, we got so immersed in this that I don't even know what's up next. So producer, would you mind throwing up the slide, and then I'll just go with it from whatever we see here. So to close it out. Okay, perfect. Thank you for going through that shared experience with us. Thank you, Kanene. Empathy workout number 6 is about to be in the books. We're gonna keep these going. Like I said, this has been bringing us a ton of energy. It's giving us an amazing opportunity to share a stage with some amazing thought leaders. Next week, we have Stephanie Royal, Managing Director and Head of People at Robin Hood, which is New York's largest poverty nonprofit. Not listed here, but I'm pretty sure we're going to also be joined by Juliana Akamuya, who is the Chief Talent Officer at Havas Boston. So we're going to have 2 thought leaders on the front lines of making sense of how to create safe workspaces in this new, necessary, empathetic leadership environment we're heading in the wake of COVID, in the wake of necessary human rights uprising. And the week after that, we will be joined by Alan Woods, Managing Partner and Creative Director at Mortar, which is a phenomenal social enterprise based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, that is on the front lines equipping entrepreneurs with mentorship, enrichment learning to help them survive those crucial first 3 years of entrepreneurship, but not just any entrepreneurs, but Black and Latinx entrepreneurs. And we're inviting him over to help us with a conversation on bridging from empathy to opportunity. So that's in 2 weeks. And then we don't have it listed here, it's in the works, but we're dreaming up a really amazing give back gift to you all on the weekend following Thanksgiving. So wedged between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we're putting together an event alongside our community that is about giving back to you tools to help strengthen your resilience, your resolve through the holidays. So a little gift back to you. So that's being cooked up. So look out for that. And with that, we went over quite a bit. I really appreciate you all going with the punches. Kanene, I want to throw it to you to
let's
lead us off and into the week.
Oh man, so I cried tears of joy. I just did the American Red Cross, 1,000 people, a diversity training, and I just cried because it's not even ego for me. I just feel like, what can I do? How can I help? Whatever God has given me, how can I give it back? And so with that, I'm going to give you all something. And it is my baton. I have a blue one. I have a red one. Right now I can find the blue one. I have 1,000 props and no interns. So here's the baton for this relay race called the utopia that we can create on Earth. It's bigger than America. It's bigger than a flag, right? It's bigger than a race. Even for me, Black issues, there's something called the human race. I'm also a diversity advocate for people who are hearing impaired. I'm very passionate about that. So here's a baton. And if anybody can drop in the comments something that they're doing or an organization that they know of that they think needs to be amplified, or they think needs some support, or they think that they need more stakeholders in, right? Let's do that. Because I'm about talking and I'm also about action. And so I'm very serious about that. Michael, I reached out to him because I'm like, let's go. So I'm reaching out to all of you the same way. Let's go. You all follow me. I will follow all of you Black. Literally on Instagram, you do email, blackish@gmail. I'm all about that. So in what ways can we, for the next week, our intention is to pass the baton. Last thing I'll say, Adam Clayton Powell had a speech and he said, "What's in your hand?" Oh, if we had time. If we had time, I would play that speech. And he talked about David and Goliath. He talked about all these verses in the Bible and people who were adversaries and people who were oppressed. And he said, and he counted them off and he rattled them off. And David had a bow or whatever he had, and he slung the bow and arrow or whatever it was. And he said, "Well, what's in your hands?" And so that's what I'm going to leave you all with. Google, go on YouTube, find Adam Clayton Powell, "What's in your hand?" You will bust out crying. What's in your hands? And so if anybody wants to put in their comments right now, what's in their hand? What do they think is something that's going to run this next leg of the relay race? That's what I need. Because we're running in a way that's like not as fast as you can, because then that's not sustainable, but we're all running this relay race. Don't drop the baton. There we go. Well, if I did it, it'll be really loud. Let me try again. Exactly.
Wake up.
Wake up. There's a lot of Black and urgent issues out here. Don't drop the baton. Here you go, Blurgent. There's Black issues on Instagram. I have mugs for sale. I have t-shirts for sale. All of the Blexicon is for sale. And that could support me to edit some of my content that needs to go out. Support Michael, support Actually Curious, support these stakeholders, and let's read the comments. Let's go, let's do it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for joining us on coming out of this election at a high level. Let's do it.
Legenda. What is our legenda?
All right, y'all. I'm gonna leave it at that. Caroline, would you mind throwing the link? If you heard Kanene, you have the baton now. If there's a gift that you have that you wish to share, we have a little initiative that we've been doing called the Get Closer Pledge. We're gonna throw the link in the chat. If you sign that type form, you fill that type form out, we periodically then share the link back out to everyone who's signed up and allow you to connect with one another. So it's just an open source means of finding allies through the Actually Curious community, sharing your gifts with them, asking for help, being vulnerable, showing your bravery. Let's go, people. See you next week.